Bom dia, Sao Paulo. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today for your first MDRT Day in Brazil. It's an absolute honour to represent MDRT and the Executive Committee. And I'd also like to recognise Caio and Silas for the work they have done to bring this together and the sponsors. It's very important for MDRT to be seen to be putting on events like this locally. I've been to Brazil twice before, so this is my third visit, but my first time to Sao Paulo. And we've had a wonderful time. The hospitality's been fantastic. It's just been a great experience. So as you know, my topic today is, do you sell product or services? And I understand that in Brazil at the moment, there's some regulation change and there's change in thoughts about how we market our services. Coming from Australia, we've had change for the last 20 years as to how we market our insurance products, investment products and retirement products. So today I thought I would give you an overview as to my experience as an advisor for the past 37 years, what we've gone through and the changes that we have had to make sure that we remain relevant to our clients and to the business that we represent. So to start with, can I see a show of hands of how many members of MDRT we have here today? Okay, so a lot of aspirants. Hopefully by the end of today you'll be inspired to join MDRT or increase your production to the level that you will qualify for MDRT. So one of the first lessons I learned when I joined the industry was you had to invest in yourself. As Warren Buffett says, Warren Buffett I'm sure is well known here as he is around the world, the most famous investor of all times. But he says the most important investment you can make is in yourselves. So how can you do that? You invest in yourself by taking the time out of your busy working life to come to sessions like this, to attend courses, to continually read and try and improve what you currently do. And we need to do this because the life insurance business is a very, very tough industry. But personally, I would not have it any other way. The tougher the industry is, means less and less people are successful at it. But the people who do succeed in this industry enjoy enormous financial privilege and a wonderful lifestyle. So I don't mind the business being tough because we control our own destiny in this business. But when we talk about things being tough and the challenges we face, I would just like to share a video with you to show what a real challenge is. Maybe.
Right. These babies are on the slide. Look at that man go. Here comes Riley. Riley! Whee! You can do it all by yourself like a big girl. Camden, you're so strong. Watch out for Camden. Take turns. Can you do it, baby? Yeah. Oh, I forget. You told me you're not a baby. You're a big boy. That's right, ain't it? Riley, slow down. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. Hold on just a minute. Just a minute. Let's wait on that big boy. Yeah, look, he can do it all by himself and don't want any help. Okay, let's wait on him. Give him just a minute. I see you. I see you. Got the prettiest smile in the world. Riley, hold on. Okay. Be careful. Okay. You're an impatient thing, huh? You almost got it. You want some help? No. No. Oh, I didn't think. Riley, no. Wait. Wait on brother. Wait on brother. When he gets on the side, then I'll let you go up, okay? You got it? Wait a minute, Riley. Let's see brother. Let's see brother get on the slide. Come here, Camden. I'm ready for you. I'm going to catch you, big baby. Big boy. I'm going to catch you. You ready? Here we go.
So regardless of how tough we think this industry is, it's never going to be as tough as that little boy has to face the challenges as he goes through life. And what I've found is that people who succeed in the life insurance and financial planning industry are the disciplined ones who are prepared to do the things that other people won't do. They're prepared to make the calls, do the hard work, whereas other people who aren't committed never get to that level. And I didn't work this out immediately. I started in the insurance industry when I was age 21. I was recruited by my father's insurance agent who had gone into management. And for the first 12 months, I was pretty successful. I had clients that included my family, obviously, and my close friends. But after about a year and 6 months, I was finding it very, very difficult. I had run out of prospects, I'd almost run out of money, and I was seriously considering leaving the industry. And someone suggested to me that I go to a national life insurance conference. So instead of flying, I didn't have enough money to fly, I drove to this conference. And I was lucky enough to meet a very successful older agent who happened to be a member of MDRT. He became my mentor. And he asked me a few questions. He asked me how many calls I was making per week, how many client meetings I was having per week, and I couldn't answer him. I said I'd stop keeping those sort of records within 6 months of starting in the business because I was finding it pretty easy. And he told me that even after 30 years in the business, he still kept records every week, and he knew how many calls he made every week, how many meetings he had every week, and how many meetings he had to have to make enough client contact, to make enough sales to get by. So basically, that's what he told me to get back to doing. He told me to get back and start prospecting hard. And the biggest challenge most people have in this industry on a global basis is finding the right people to talk to prospect. And even in Australia, where I come from, where our industry is well over 100 years of age, there was a recent survey done amongst financial planners, and 42% of financial planners in Australia say that the hardest thing they do is try and find people to talk to, try and find prospects. And I think everyone can sell a product if you can find the prospect, but the difficulty is finding people who are prepared to talk to you. So, how do you become a good prospector? It's just practice. Day in, day out, you need to get on the phone and talk to people, meet with people, and so on. But more importantly, you develop a process. And for myself, the process was every meeting I had with our clients, existing clients and new clients, I said, I need to talk to new people who are similar to you. And I took out a pen and paper and asked them who they could introduce me to, not necessarily to sell insurance to, but who I could talk to about my business and what I was trying to build. And over time, this process just became a habit. And I started to get back on track, started to get more and more people to talk to, and my business took off again. So, very, very important. And as I mentioned before, keeping records. By recording your activity, your meaningful activity, you give yourself a report card. And even now, 37 years after I started in the business, I know exactly how many calls I make per week, how many client meetings I have per week, and how many sales I make. And everyone in my office has to do the same thing. And we report to each other. So everyone knows what my figures are. Even my secretary knows exactly what activity I do. And I know that if I do at least 10 client meetings every week when I'm in the office, I will qualify for top of the table. And then it just becomes, once again, a process of doing the things that you do. And more importantly, it's keeping an eye on what we call above-the-line activities. So, above-the-line activities is what I talk to the other agents or advisors that work with me. They're the things that generate income. Contacting clients, as you can see, sales-based activities. Not sitting around in the office doing below-the-line activities, which are these things. And a lot of people, we employ agents in our business that aren't doing very well when they come and join us, but we make them totally focus on doing the income-producing activities that we still focus on. And it's amazing how it improves them. And the thing about recording your activity is if you can measure something, you can improve on it. If you're not measuring things, you don't really know. So we get our advisors to measure things, and basically, once they start measuring things, over a period of 6 months, we find their performance increases by 60%. The other thing is that they then have to report. We have a meeting every Monday morning, and we all report our activity to each other. Once again, records show that if you record and report your activity, most people's performance will increase by up to 80%. And that's the simplicity of it. So, there were two of the things that he told me to do: increase my skills in prospecting, go back to recording, doing the things that I started to do but had stopped doing because I thought I'd become too successful to do so. The other thing he told me about was MDRT. And he told me that MDRT would completely change my career, and he set me that goal. He said, get back to work hard. This is what the MDRT qualifying level is. Work hard, and when you achieve MDRT status, make sure you attend an annual meeting. So I wish I could stand here today and tell you that I went back to work and I qualified for MDRT the next year. But it still took me another 5 years. So I'm sure there's people in the room here today that qualified for MDRT in their first year. But overall, it took me 7 years before I qualified for MDRT. And I think when you have to work that hard and that long to achieve a goal, it makes it that much more important to you. And once I qualified for MDRT the first time, I made a commitment to myself that I would qualify every year. So I went to my first meeting, had it all planned, but on the way through I was reflecting on what else did I learn. And one of the things I learned was that you have to learn to say no before you can grow. And by that I mean you've got to stop doing the easy activities and do the hard activities, as I mentioned before. You've got to be totally focused on what you want to do. Clients that you don't feel comfortable with working with, you don't work with, and things that distract you, take you away from doing your income-producing activities, just say no to. And it's a real discipline. I'm still learning every day to say no. In my current position with MDRT, I get asked to do things all the time. And occasionally I have to say no. I've got to do this. This is much more important than another role. So it's all about time management and making the absolute most of your time. And Warren Buffett even agrees with his quote. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And if someone of his caliber says that, you know it's true. And it's discipline. So I attended my first annual meeting in Toronto in 1989. And meetings these days, this year we had attendance of about 18,000 people in Los Angeles. Back in Toronto in 1989, we had 3,000 attendees, which I thought was a big meeting. And one of the reasons I went there was I really wanted to learn the secret to success, because I knew there would be very high producers at that annual meeting, and in the back of my mind I thought there must be some secret that they had, that they could qualify every year to attend the meeting and continue to grow their business. So unfortunately, what I found out was that the big secret was they worked harder than me. They didn't waste time. They were totally focused on what they had to do, which surprised me because I thought these people just found things easy, but they didn't. They were exactly the same as me, but they were more focused. And one of the things that was pointed out to me at this very first meeting were these figures here. As you can see, a qualifying member for MDRT spends 13 hours per week in direct contact with clients. A quarter-of-the-table member, which is 3 times qualifying member level, spends 22 hours per week, or 44% of their time. This is based on a 50-hour week. And a top-of-the-table member spends 50% of their time. So the difference between a 3-time qualifying level, quarter-of-the-table member, 44%, to a top-of-the-table member is only 6% of their time, or only 3 more hours per week with clients. So it really made me think, okay, that's what I've got to do, which I mentioned before, focusing on how many hours that I spend with clients. And if you're sitting out there this morning, go through your diaries or your calendars and work out how much time you're currently spending with clients and how much time you're spending socialising or doing administrative paperwork, which is never going to generate income for you. The other thing I learned from that first meeting was that the very best MDRT members, or the highest producers, did not just sell policies. They built relationships with their clients. They got to know them better than anyone else, and they built very, very strong relationships and long-term relationships with their clients. In addition to that, the other thing they did was they thought bigger. They had bigger dreams, bigger aspirations than what I'd ever dreamt of. But that's what MDRT did for me. It helped me expand my horizons, helped me lift my goals to become better and be a higher producer. So, finishing that meeting, I go back and I'm thinking bigger, I'm prospecting for bigger clients, more focused on the use of my time and so on. And the other 3 things that I did, I analysed my working week, what I had been doing, and did 3 things. I asked myself, what am I going to stop doing? What am I going to start doing? And what am I going to keep doing? And it's as simple as that. When you look at your calendars, am I going to keep doing that? Is that helping me get closer to my objective, to my goals, or is it taking me further away? What am I going to start doing? And as I mentioned, one of the things I wanted to start doing was prospecting for bigger clients. Asking my existing clients for referrals to their workmates or their friends who were making more money than them, who had bigger problems than them. And the other thing, what was I going to keep doing? And what I wanted to keep doing was build better relationships, continuing to build on the existing relationships I had and made them even better. What was I going to focus on doing? Obviously, focusing on above-the-line activities. Interestingly enough, at MDRT, meetings, even local meetings that we attend a lot of, I've been to probably 6 or 8 this year already. I've been to meetings in Australia, Macau, Korea, China. And the interesting thing about MDRT is that people get together who are like-minded. And if you start associating with like-minded people, you will never fall into this situation here, which is an old American saying that Walter's probably heard before. You'll never soar like an eagle when you hang out with turkeys. And basically what that means is mixing with people who are like-minded, who are having bigger goals, who are more positive. And if you want to predict where you will be in 5 years' time, have a look at the people you are currently mixing with. Successful people like other people to be successful. They're not jealous of other people's success. They want to help each other. And once again, that's what MDRT is all about. All of us getting better and helping bring other people along. So, focusing on building better relationships, what did I do? I went back to work, went through my client list and identified the people who I really, really enjoyed working with. People who were good clients, who would become better clients, who I thought I could build a much stronger relationship. And I stopped dealing with people that I didn't particularly like dealing with, gave them less attention. And it dawned on me that this business is far too tough to work with people that you don't want to work with or with clients who are difficult. And I also decided that I wanted to specialise. I wanted to work with people around my age group who were self-employed or senior management roles because we'd faced similar difficulties with our businesses and had similar aspirations about what we wanted to build and so on. And we worked very well together. And once I started specialising, instead of trying to do work for everyone, my business improved. And in Australia and most countries that I talk in, if I ask the meeting attendees, do general practitioner doctors make as much money as specialists? And the answer across the board is no. Specialist medicos earn much more money than general practitioners. And the same goes for insurance agents or financial planners. If you can become regarded as an absolute expert in your field, you will get many more referrals, and that's how your reputation is built. And I work with accountants and lawyers back home, and they believe and understand that I'm an expert in retirement planning and also in business insurance. I do a lot of business insurance for my clients back home who own businesses, who need to protect their partnership, succession planning, all those sorts of things. And the first thing I want the accountants that I deal with or my clients to deal with is that if something comes up in conversation about, I'm concerned either about my retirement, whether I'm funding my retirement well enough, or how I'm going to live in retirement, or on the other side of the coin, what is happening with my business? How can I protect my business interests? They think of me. And even while I've been in Sao Paulo, I've had 2 referred leads from accountants this week just emailed me and said, when I get back, can I talk to these 2 business owners? And I make sure that the accountant understands the work I do, make sure the accountant understands that I put the client's needs ahead of mine and give them the correct advice that they need. Which leads me to becoming a trusted advisor. I mentioned before that in Australia, the whole industry has been going through a revolution, probably for the last 15, 20 years, the way we do business. Commissions on certain products are outlawed in Australia, and we do much more consulting work than sales work. And we need our clients to understand that they can trust us. And how do we build trust with clients? One of the first things we do is do the common things uncommonly well. We find out much, much more about our clients than any of their other professional advisors do. We find out what their dreams and aspirations are, what difficulties they have had, what is their relationship with money, what are they planning on doing, and we document everything they tell us. We keep it in their file, and we have that conversation with them every time we meet with them. And all of our clients we're in regular contact with. We're sending out newsletters. We're sitting down face-to-face with them at least once per year, finding out what's changed, explaining any legislation changes that have happened since we last spoke, but more importantly for them, finding out how they're tracking towards achieving their objectives. Are they still planning on sending their children to the best possible schools? Are they still planning on taking their family overseas for holidays? Every time we update what their goals and objectives are and remind them what they had told us last year and the year before. Because their goals and objectives change as time goes by. But by building this relationship, knowing more about their children, their wife, they feel much more comfortable with us and they're less inclined to ever leave this relationship to go to another advisor. Most advisors in the past in Australia, all they did was talk about a product. okay, you need to buy some life insurance, you need to buy some disability insurance, without fully understanding why people needed to do that, what they were trying to protect, what they were trying to achieve. And talking to people, we call it about their personal balance sheet as opposed to just their financial balance sheet. Finding out, as I mentioned, the most important things. And most other professionals in Australia, at least, don't go to this level. They're accountants. We sit down with our clients' accountants and talk to them about their clients, and they have no idea what position their clients are in. All they're doing is their tax returns and giving some basic advice. But we go much deeper, and we sit down with their accountants and say, did you realise that our client is doing this? This is what they want to achieve, and they go, no. Same thing with their lawyer. And there's a very old saying in MDRT circles that clients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And by caring, we also help them at claims time. If there is ever a disability claim or income protection claim, even a death claim, we handle all the claims in our office. We deal with the life insurance company, and we make sure that the cheques are delivered. The money now gets deposited directly into their bank accounts, but we spend the time to sit down with the clients who are disabled and let them know how the claims process is going, and let them know that we are their representative. We're working on their behalf to make sure the insurance company pays the claims and things get done in a very quick manner. And once again, when that happens, clients have absolutely no hesitation in referring us. I've had a client in the last 2 months, we've been working on a total and permanent disablement claim for him for the last 2 years. It's taken 2 years for this claim to be paid, and he fully understands that the claim would not have been paid if we did not get involved with it. Explain to him exactly how the process works, go back to him every few weeks with more requirements that the insurance company wanted and so on, but the claim has been paid. He is now telling all his friends and family that they need to deal with us because that's the work we do. We've moved away completely from selling product, as I mentioned. We're doing more consulting work, talking to people, and people these days are quite happy to pay fees. We'll give them, if they want a second opinion on what they currently have in place, we'll talk them through, we'll charge them a fee to do that. And once again, that's how much the industry has evolved in Australia. And we see the same in England, and we're seeing it happening in the United States and Canada. So across the board, this will eventually come. But we talk to people about their financial peace of mind, and the things we do sell are security to make sure that they understand if something happens to them, their family is going to be able to lead exactly the same lifestyle that they were if they pass away or if they're disabled. And also means that their family can maintain their dignity in the event of something happening to the breadwinner. So that's basically how we've changed our business. But it's a slow process. It takes time to move from someone who is selling products to gradually move across to this building relationships and getting more detail on people. I was also encouraged to be brave, to think a bit bigger than what I normally did. And, Eleanor Roosevelt said it best when she said, do one thing every day that scares you. And I used to have referrals that I was too scared to call because they were bigger business people. And over time I realised that it's just a phone call. It's not going to kill me if someone says no to me over the phone. But the more risk I took in talking to people, ringing people that I didn't know that well, asking for the opportunity to speak with them, talking to people about bigger cases, about protecting the size of their dreams with the size of the insurance policies or their investments that they needed to make, the better we became. And it's all about being brave and doing one thing every day that scares you. So if you're sitting here today and you've got a prospect that you have not been game to call, you've got a client that you haven't had a difficult conversation with about what they really need to do to protect themselves, when you leave here today and go back to your office tomorrow, pick up the phone, make that appointment and go and have those big conversations with your clients. And you'll be surprised once you start doing that, your attitude changes. And you may not get every client to agree to your recommendations, but more and more you will. I talked before about investing in yourself, continuing improvement. And you're probably all familiar with this term KZN, which is continual improvement. And MDRT talks a lot about the whole person concept. It's not good enough to be a success in your business if your family life is falling apart. And unfortunately, we see a lot of people, clients and also other advisors in this industry, that they're very, very successful, but their health, their personal life is not what it should be. So MDRT encourages us to focus on not just continual improvement in our business, but continually improve in other areas of your life. Setting bigger goals, making sure you're taking the time to do the important things in your life. And we do that in our business. Complacency is the biggest issue that we see in Australia, that advisors get to a certain level and they become complacent. They think, yes, I'm very successful, I'm a quarter of the table producer, I'm a top of the table producer, I no longer need to improve. In our business, every year we are trying to improve on last year. Business-wise, in other areas of our life as well. We have coaches in our business, we have management consultants that we deal with, and it's all about making our business more efficient, making our staff better, and making us better, and spending the time to do that. Jerry Rice was a famous football player. And as he says, the enemy of the best is good. If people are satisfied with being good, they'll never be the best. And, you know, I never think that I'll be the absolute best in everything I do, but I want to be my best. I want to be better than good, but I don't want to finish my career and think, boy, if I would have tried a little bit harder, things may have been different. I want to be able to reflect on everything I've done in this business and think, okay, I can be better than this. What can I do? Get coaches and ask other people. The other thing that we're always focusing on with MDRT and in our own business is mentoring. And mentoring is a big word, often used, doesn't often get done properly though. I'm very fortunate to have a business partner who is 19 years younger than me. He came and started work for me 20 years ago. And he came to work as my assistant. He knew nothing about the industry. I'd been in the industry for 10 or 15 years at that time, but my business had grown to the size that I couldn't manage it myself. So I employed Gino as basically my assistant to do the work that I didn't want to do, with the view that I'd eventually train him up and he would also become an agent. The interesting part when you have a mentor who you spend a lot of time with is that to start with, the knowledge gap is huge. When Gino first started with me, I was up here as far as knowledge goes, Gino was down here. But as time goes by, my mentor kept improving his knowledge, and so on, until the stage where the difference in what we knew was very, very small. And that made me have to keep improving. If I didn't improve, how could I expect Gino to improve? So it forced me to keep getting better. So even though we're mentoring people and we think we're just helping them, they are helping us by pushing us along. And now we're at the stage where I'll think I'll know something more than Gino, but he'll know something more than me. So it's constantly working with each other, and we still work very, very closely. And even while I've been over here, every day we don't have a conversation, but there'll be text messages or emails about what is happening in our business, what's going on, what his thoughts are, what I've learnt while I've been in Brazil about how you do business here. But that is one of the best things that I will take away from my career in this business. that I've helped someone else become the person that they want to be, help someone else become successful in this industry. And we're doing the same now. We have 4 other younger advisors in our office that we work with on exactly the same basis. So every meeting I go to, I have a junior advisor with me. And once again, they're seeing how we build relationships with our clients, how we build trust with our clients, and they then can start taking over some of our clients because they understand what the ethics of our business is about, how professional we are, and the services we provide. And they're not going to learn that if they're out there by themselves or just attending training courses. It's about learning the soft skills as well as having the technical know-how that is extremely important. So if you are a senior advisor or a more experienced advisor out here today and you know some younger advisors who you could help, I'd strongly encourage you to do so. I would not be here as president of MDRT. I would probably not even be in the industry if someone had not taken an interest in me 35 years ago and encouraged me to get better. And as I say, that is one of the biggest rewards you will have, is seeing the results of your mentoring. And if you're a younger person here today that feels as though they need some help, talk to someone. With MDRT, the executive committee, some of us have mentees in different countries around the world because it's so easy to keep in contact by email these days, conversations. It's incredibly easy. And we've got mentees in China, all over the place. So once again, talk to each other and contact some other people, if you are an MDRT member, who you think may be able to help you. Oops, sorry. So in addition to that, I'll just summarise on the points that we had. Invest in yourself. Focus on above-the-line activities. Make sure you're doing the things every day that are going to take you closer towards your goal, not further away. Learn to say no. Think big. Specialise if you can. Now, I understand that the industry or the business in Brazil is different to a lot of other countries because you're brokers and you can do car insurance, you can do property insurance, and you can do life insurance, and some of you can do investments and so on. But determine what you want to do. For me, the best form of insurance work I can do is personal insurance because you get to know people at a different level and you can genuinely see how you can help them get to where they want to go. But if you can specialise, by all means do so. Do one thing every day that scares you, mix with successful people, and focus on improving every day. Trying to get better today than what you were yesterday, or better this year than what you were last year. Conferences like this, I've been to probably 35 MDRT annual meetings, and one of the biggest issues I found was this. I'd come back from the annual meeting with 20 different ideas that I wanted to implement in my business. And the net result was none of them ever got implemented. Whereas now, when I go to meetings such as this, I'll try and take 1 or 2 really good ideas that I think will impact on my business and improve my business, and try to implement those. So if you're talking to one of your peers here today, pick 2 ideas and talk to your friends or business associates about which 2 ideas you are going to try and implement in your business when you get back to it. Make a commitment to each other that within a month you're going to check to see if you have implemented those ideas and what difference it's made. Because some of the little things make a huge difference. Getting back to basics, I talk to people now who tell me, okay, I'm doing this and it's been very, very successful. And I shake my head and say, I used to do that 10 years ago and it was really successful and I stopped doing it. Why did I stop doing it? I don't know. But I start doing it again and it still works. So it's all those sorts of things, be it prospecting tips, be it closing techniques, being how you can become better in what we do, learning more about the products that you market, different examples of how they can be used, legislation, becoming an expert in those areas. An MDRT is not a one-time thing. We've members globally who think they've made it. When they qualify for MDRT, they go to one annual meeting and that's it. Our research has shown that people get the most advantage out of MDRT when they've qualified at least 3 years in a row and attended 2 or more meetings. And they may not necessarily be annual meetings because these days our annual meetings are very big, but meetings such as these local meetings, country meetings, and MDRT is encouraging countries to have more and more of these local meetings. And we're going to represent the Executive Committee by coming to as many meetings as we can so we can find out about the issues and the challenges that people face in different parts of the world. As I say, I've been to Korea and China in the last couple of weeks and sitting down and talking with their members saying, how can MDRT give better service? What resources do you need that MDRT can provide? And MDRT has enormous resources. If you get on our website and you go to the resource zone, every year we are adding 140 new pieces of information to help people get better. One of the challenges we've got with Brazil is that we need to put that in language-specific ways. Brazil currently has 237 members. We need 500 members in Brazil before we can start doing more and more work in Portuguese for you. And I know this is not going to happen overnight, but hopefully by having MDRT days such as this, and you can see exactly what MDRT can do to help your business, you'll be encouraged enough to qualify and to join. And when you do join, I would strongly encourage you to attend an annual meeting. This year's annual meeting sold out in 37 hours, so it was very, very difficult for a lot of our global members to attend the meeting. So next year, we've added a brand new meeting to our calendar. So our annual meeting is in Miami in June, and we have another meeting in Sydney, Australia in September. So our members have a choice. They can go to the Miami meeting or they can go to the Sydney meeting. So we're expecting a lot more room to be available at the Miami meeting than what there was last year. And our Sydney meeting will have registration base of about 10,000 members. So if you've never been to Australia, this could be a big opportunity to come along and check out Australia and go to a meeting that is exactly the same quality as an annual meeting. And if you're like me, once you go to that first meeting, you'll be encouraged to keep coming back, keep qualifying for MDRT, and keep working as hard as you possibly can. So Ko asked if I would be prepared to answer any questions that you may have today. So does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Hopefully I can answer them.
Bom, Ricardo Tunchel, da PECIM, Consultório Financeiro and Health, fez a seguinte pergunta. Existem muitos produtores que estão mais focados em outros produtos de seguro, e não em seguros de vida, previdência ou investimentos. O que você sugere a esse grupo de corretores a desenvolver em seus escritórios para que consigam comercializar esses produtos? Qual que é o gatilho de mudança?
The trick to change things. I had a conversation with one of the companies we were with yesterday, and basically they said their brokers do a lot of auto insurance. And interestingly enough, in Australia we have clients that all they want to do is insure their motor vehicle. And our question to them is, okay, so if you have an accident in your car's insured, but if you're driving, do you think you may be hurt or you may be killed? Do you think it's important that you also have some insurance cover. I think the opportunity for brokers in Brazil, if you've already got a client base of doing general insurance, doing property, motor vehicle or health, it's just then one more question that you need to ask. What would happen to your family if you did not come home from work today? They obviously already believe in insurance if they've got some of their material possessions insured. But the most important thing that provides the motor vehicles, who provides the insurance premiums to pay for their health insurance, is the person that you're talking to. So you've got to insure the person who generates the income. That's what I would do.
Obrigado, Ross. Próxima pergunta, Luciano Paloro, da Paloro Corretora, Consultório Financeiro. Como você encara o avanço das insurtechs? Eles são uma ameaça ou um parceiro na carreira do Life Advisor?
Good question. What we're seeing globally is more and more fintech, as we call it in different places. It's called fintech in Australia. But fintech will have a place in the industry, but we find that it's normally for smaller sums insured and for less technical cases. And the problem that people have if they buy insurance on the internet is that in the event of a claim, they don't know what to do. I deal with a company back home, and one of their staff was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I said, look, if she needs some help, I can help her with the claims process and so on. So I went out and sat down with her. We filled in all the claims paperwork for her. We submitted the paperwork to the insurance company, and we dealt with the insurance company, and they paid her out a terminal illness benefit of about $670,000. And that's where I think we can separate ourselves from fintech. Most of the complaints about the insurance industry in Australia are about policies taken out on the internet because people don't understand what they're buying. They may not be totally truthful in their health questions, whereas if they're dealing with a human, with a person who can sit down and talk to them and tailor-make a program for them, they're going to get much better service, and they know that if there's an issue, they can ring us. So, as I say, none of our bigger clients even consider taking out insurance on the internet. It doesn't matter to us, but the bigger clients are the ones who need the advice. So there will always be an opportunity for people to deal with people.
O Olívio Lucas, da Tokyo Marine, faz a seguinte pergunta. Quais são os principais desafios para se tornar advisor bem-sucedido?
The main challenge is to become a successful agent. I think you don't have to be the smartest person around. I'm certainly not the smartest person being an insurance advisor, but I'm very focused and I build relationships with our clients. The most important trait or habit that we can get into is getting close to your client. The more that I help clients get what they want, the more I get what I want. And the challenge is a bit different globally. Challenge in Australia is very much about regulation. Things are changing pretty dramatically. As I mentioned before, we don't get paid commission on a lot of products anymore, so we can't market those. Different in Korea, different in China. But I think once you totally commit to being an insurance agent or a financial advisor and focus on it, you will get success. It's just about having the discipline. Discipline is the biggest failure for most people in this industry. They don't want to do the hard work. They want it easy. But once you understand that you've got to do things that other people aren't prepared to do, it'll all start to happen.
Obrigado, Ross. A última pergunta é da Eliane Alves, da Bradesco Seguros. É bem interessante a pergunta dela, porque ontem eu estive com o Ross em algumas reuniões E um dos maiores desafios aqui no Brasil é despertar a necessidade nas pessoas sobre ter o planejamento financeiro. Elas ainda não sabem que elas precisam fazer o planejamento financeiro. Então, como despertar no seu cliente a necessidade de seguro de vida, de proteção familiar?
That's a very, very good question. It gets back to conversations. We saw a new client a couple of weeks ago, and we had to send a fee proposal to him, and he emailed back and said, "Why would I deal with you?" And my response was that you're going to have 80% more chance of success financially if you were dealing with a financial advisor than if you try and do it yourself. And that's a proven fact. The people who try and do it themselves, organise their own insurance, organise their own investments and so on, very seldom do they succeed. And we sit alongside clients helping them get themselves structured correctly. And that's the simple answer, that if you want to be successful, you pay for it yourself. There's a very famous speaker called Don Connolly who was recently in Australia. And Don Connolly uses that analogy, but Don is age 72. And he goes, "You know what? I've been having haircuts since I was probably 2 years old. So I've had thousands of haircuts over the past 70 years, but I never try to cut my own hair. I don't know what to do." And that's what people should think about when they're talking about their own investments or their own life insurance portfolios. Get some help. And it's just simple things like that to talk to people and say, we're here to help you. We're not here to sell you a product. We're here to help you get to where you want to be. And talk to them about successes that you've had. And when you've been doing this for as long as I have, I can talk to people about insurance claims that we've paid out that have helped families stay in the same home, children attend the same schools. Talk to people about our help with their retirement planning, that we've helped them retire in the manner that they wanted to. And I think it's all about storytelling, not telling people that you're going to do this for them and do that to them, but just give them some examples of what you do, the successes that you've had with your clients. That's an enormous help.